She's telling me I'm gonna rupture my uterus. Did I rupture my uterus? I had a great time. Did you have a great time? You did great. High five. High five. Oh, knuckles? Hello everybody, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, hi, I'm Emma. I'm a 21-year-old mom to my 2 beautiful girls. And if you're new, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you're a part of the team. And while you're at it, turn your bell notifications on so you don't miss any of our videos. And if you're a returning subscriber, you already know we love you guys so much, and thanks for coming back to another video. It truly means the world. Today is a very exciting day because it is little baby girl's birth story. And it's a very surreal moment because my first video on YouTube was telling my birth story with my first daughter, Londyn. It's crazy because now Londyn is 3.5, and when I posted that video, she was about 7 months old. Our YouTube channel has so many videos now. We have over 100,000 subscribers, which is just absolutely mind-boggling. To be filming my second daughter's birth story and now to have a second daughter, it's really crazy all around. First labor and delivery was 47 hours, so it was extremely long. And I figured my second one would be shorter. It definitely was. It was very different. I can link my first labor and delivery down below, and as I talk, I'll kind of mention that one too, just because I think it's interesting to kind of compare the two, because babies, pregnancy, labor and delivery, it's just wild how different things can be. I also vlogged in labor, which I'll link that video down below. When you vlog, there's pieces like missing, especially if something's so busy like a labor and delivery. So I just thought I would kind of go over some things and just tell the story. Hi little bean. I was due with her August 21st. We had actually just moved into our new house from Colorado to Arizona. It'd been like a week since we moved into this place, and I had been having contractions since like 30 weeks, which was different than with my daughter Londyn. With your first babies, it's not unusual to go past your due date, but I actually gave birth to her a few days before my due date, so I was pretty confident that baby number 2, little baby Lynroe, would come before her due date. I feel like most people that are pregnant are like, let's just get him here. But I was happy having her in my belly for as long as she wanted to be there. Because I had been having contractions for months before, I wasn't really fazed by contractions. On Sunday the 14th, they were more intense than the other contractions. There's a word for it. Real contractions, but they don't like lead to labor. Because I had already had contractions, I was like, whatever. I measured my labor time with my first daughter based on when I was woken up with contractions and like couldn't go back to bed. A few days before I'd been getting contractions, but I just kind of thought they were all false alarms. I was kind of hoping, because again, I wanted her to stay cooking as long as she wanted to, and I knew she was gonna grow up so fast when she got here. I went to bed, and at that point, you know, I was like, okay, I'm able to go to bed. Like, I'm kind of in the clear. I don't remember what time I went to bed at, but at 2 a.m. I woke up. At that point, I knew that it was labor. I wouldn't really count the time before that because I was able to go to bed. With my first daughter, Londyn, I started counting labor when I was woken up with contractions and wasn't able to go back to sleep. And I was at 4 a.m. on a Saturday with Londyn, and this time it was at 2 a.m. on a Sunday with Lynroe. Right away, I called my mom and dad. You can see it all in the labor and delivery vlog, but I called them because my mom is in Colorado and my dad is in California, and it was gonna take some time for them to get there, and they were planning to be there. I had already called the hospital weeks prior saying, hey, if no one is able to get to my daughter in time, can we bring her to the hospital? Because if Londyn couldn't come to the hospital, we were going to have to change plans and plan around that. So I already knew that Londyn was able to go to the hospital with us. Brandon and I actually talked about her being there for the whole labor and delivery before I was in labor. It was around 4:30 when I realized that the contractions were getting very, very intense, like 2 to 3 minutes apart. Because at first, I want to say the contractions were like 5 to 3 minutes apart when I first woke up at 2 a.m. You know, now it's 4:30, my contractions are like 2 to 3 minutes apart. I'm like, okay, we need to go to the hospital. And I wanted Londyn to just stay asleep because I was like, oh, she's sleeping. If I can just call my family member, they can come over and sit with her while she's asleep. And then by the time she wakes up, my mom and dad will fly in and drive in and it'll be perfect. But they couldn't come, and that's totally okay. And I'm actually so glad that Londyn got to come to the hospital with us. It was a great experience. It was so cute. It was so fun. She was in such a good mood when we woke her up to go to the hospital. She was so excited. I was in a lot of pain and she was so understanding and so sweet. I was kind of nervous about her seeing me in pain and, you know, being scared because she's only 3.5. She was actually 3 days away from being 3.5, so almost 3.5, but she did so amazing. Like, I was like, girl, how are you doing so good? She's just amazing. Brandon said we arrived at the hospital at 5:30. We had never been to this hospital before because we just moved and they don't do hospital tours. When we had Londyn, we had already been to this hospital. They said, okay, this is where you park. Like, it was really nice. If you can do a hospital tour, I highly recommend. We first pulled into the emergency room and then I was like, no, there's supposed to be like a labor and delivery spot. He pulled up to the front so I could just walk into the front doors, and then him and Londyn went to park and grab all the bags, like 5:30 something at this point. Nobody was in there. There's a receptionist table and no one's there. These contractions were so painful. My whole labor and delivery and while I was pushing were 5 to 30 minutes apart, and they were much more painful than even at a 9.5 with my first daughter. It's so weird. So I saw somebody, I don't know if he was a janitor or what he did exactly. I think he was like picking up trash or something. And he's like, are you okay? And clearly he could tell I was pregnant. And I was like, yeah, like I'm just in labor. He goes, okay, let me call somebody for you. He was so sweet. They took a long time to get there. Again, I'm in a lot of pain, so maybe it wasn't that long, but I said, did they usually take this long to get here? He said, no, they're usually really fast. They come down, they have a wheelchair. They took long enough for Brandon and Londyn to park and grab all the bags and walk in. It's triage, so Londyn and Brandon had to wait in the waiting room, and a nurse took me to triage. All of the nurses were amazing, but this one nurse was not very nice. Kind of sucks when you're in pain and somebody's not being very nice and you don't have your husband with you because, again, he had to go sit with Londyn. I start feeling the need to push really bad. And she checks me and she says, you're only a 5, you need to stop pushing. I literally could not control it. I didn't have this with my first daughter. It's called involuntary pushing. And so she's like yelling at me, like, she's like, you're gonna rupture your uterus. I cannot stop it. Like, I am sorry. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I just am saying I'm sorry. When first, it's not your body. Second, I'm in labor. Third, I can't control it. Looking back, it makes me madder than in the moment, because in the moment I was not scared, but I just wanted Brandon, and this lady was just being so mean to me. I'm trying to have a baby. Can you be a little kinder? I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I peed myself. I'm so sorry. Again, labor and delivery nurses, they're gonna see pee, blood, poop, all sorts of stuff. And she was like, are you serious? Wow, you're so sweet. And she goes, your water might have broke. And so then she gets a strip and she like tests it and she says that it is in fact my water. So I did not pee myself. I could not control it. Even if I did pee myself, I couldn't control it. But it wasn't even that. It was literally my water breaking. My first daughter, they checked me and my water broke at 9 centimeters. And this time I was 5 centimeters and my water broke. When she checked me, I think, because right after she checked me is when my water broke. So I think that's kind of what caused it. And at this point, I'm just like, can I please like get checked in? And she's like, hold on. And then she leaves the room for like 10 minutes. I call Brandon on the phone. He's like, what's going on? You've been in there for like 45 minutes. Did you have the baby? What's going on? And I'm just telling him and he's like, wow, this is not okay. So then they wheel me into a room. I call him and tell him what room I'm in, and I'm in a lot of pain. The nurse is still just yelling at me. She's like, you need to stop pushing. You seriously need to stop pushing. Breathe better. And Brandon's in here and he's like, baby, you're doing so great. You're doing amazing. I'm like on that verge of tears because I cannot control my pushing. I physically cannot control it. If any other mamas have experienced this, let me know down below. It wasn't just like I felt like I needed to push. It was, I could not push. I was trying so hard. I was breathing. I was trying everything. And I'm freaked out. She's telling me I'm gonna rupture my uterus. Did I rupture my uterus? What's going on? And she said that the epidural would help. When can I get the epidural? You need to be patient. You have to get all of these liquids down. She tells me I need to be patient. I need to be patient? You need to be kind. My first labor and delivery, I already knew you had to get the whole bag of IVs down, or the whole bag of fluids before they give you the epidural. Keep in mind, Brandon and Londyn are both there being so sweet to me. It was the cutest thing. I wish I would have recorded it. Brandon and I were both very distracted and just in the moment, so I didn't record any of that, but it was so sweet. They were just talking to me. You're so strong, mommy. You're so strong. She calls in the anesthesiologist who does the epidural. He was a really sweet guy. They make Londyn. When I say they, I mean the same rude nurse makes Londyn and Brandon get into the bathroom so that they can't watch. The anesthesiologist said, oh, they can stay. And she said, no, they need to go in the bathroom. He said it's okay. Then shouldn't you go along with it because he's the anesthesiologist performing this? Oh, the one thing I will say, I digress. This is the only thing I liked about this lady. I'll give her this. She put that IV in so good. I thought they were just drawing my blood, and those IVs hurt so bad. She put it like in the side of my arm. My first daughter, the IV hurt the most. Like it hurt way more than the epidural. It almost hurt more than the contractions. But this time, the IV didn't hurt at all. And the epidural really didn't hurt. It hurt like a little pinch, but not too bad. Then Brandon and Londyn came back into the room, and I got a new nurse. I loved my new nurse. She was so sweet. Her name was Lynn. Just like Lynroe, well, part of Lynroe's name. Also, before I forget, I'm looking at her name sign. It was crazy because our photographer's middle name was Lynn, our nurse's name was Lynn, then the midwife that delivered Lynroe, part of her name was Lynn, and I thought it was super cool. So we were the Lynn room, and it was like a sign. I was like, this is so cool. Her name is meant to be Lynroe, huh? You're the perfect little Lynroe. Right before I got my epidural, they wanted to check me again because if I was too far along, they weren't going to give me the epidural. So once the bag of fluids was done, they checked me one more time, and I went from a 5 to a 7. So I was at a 7, they gave me the epidural, and then really nothing happened. Well, not nothing. My mom and Papa, who is my dad, came. And it was my dad's birthday. My dad was very excited because he was getting a little birthday twin. You're welcome, Papa. And we got some pictures and stuff. And then they took Londyn to Chick-fil-A and back home. And Londyn told me I was not alone, that I could pray to God and he will protect me. And it was just the most pure thing. It's all in the labor and delivery vlog. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it. Ah, she is the best. Also, I'm like looking at my notes because I'm like, did I skip things? When I got the epidural, it was probably like 7. We were not keeping track of the time like at all. Something like that timeline. And then my parents came. My mom got there at like 8 and then my dad got there at like 9. Then they left with Londyn. I was just enjoying my last minutes being pregnant and hanging out with Brandon. Since my water had already broke, they didn't want to check me again until I was ready to push, or they thought like, oh, she should be about ready to push. When they did check me, I was 10 and they said, are you ready to push? But I didn't really feel the urge to push yet. And my photographer wasn't there yet. So I was like, no, let's just wait a little longer. And they moved me upright so that the baby could kind of come down a little more. I would feel that pressure. My amazing photographer, Alex, got there at like 10:15. I want to say I started pushing at like 10:45 because she took some pictures of us before I started pushing. I didn't really check the clock. I was just very much in the moment and soaking everything up. Before this sweet girl got there, I started pushing and she had to get under my pelvic bone, and that was a little tricky. I pushed with my first daughter over 3 hours. Like I mentioned the first time around, my contractions at pushing were 5 to 30 minutes apart. At this point, when I started pushing, they started kind of going like 5 minutes apart, which isn't as long as the first time for sure. It was like 3 big pushes and she was completely out. I think I pushed technically for like 30 minutes because she was born at 11:10, but once she got under the pelvic bone, it was like so fast. I think the first pushes were kind of just like practice pushes because I wasn't pushing exactly right. They kept changing my position. I don't know if it was because she was under my pelvic bone, if that's why I wasn't pushing right. I don't know, but she got here perfect. This is your birth story. One of the best days of my life. I can't believe it. I want to do it again so bad. When I say I want to do it again, I don't necessarily mean like, oh, I want to do it again and have another baby. I just mean I want to do that exact day all again. Like, it was just such a special, special day. Oh, the baby hormones. It was just like such a great day. And it was so much fun. I don't know. I love giving birth. And like meeting your baby for the first time was just so special, and getting to have Londyn there was so special. And it was just the best birth, one of the best births. I had 2 amazing births because I got to meet my 2 beautiful daughters. So special. And sister got to be at the hospital, not when I gave birth, but you know, before. We FaceTimed her right away. And you weighed 9 pounds. No, you didn't. Thank goodness. Woo. You weighed 7 pounds, 15 ounces, 19 inches long. Her sister was 7'9", and she was 19 1/4. And you or 19 flat inches long. And I did not tear. I've always been so terrified of tearing. Like, that's one of the things I'm terrified of in labor. I didn't tear with my first daughter, didn't tear with my second, so very happy about that. I felt amazing after. A little sore down there, but not bad at all. I really appreciate all of your prayers because they definitely worked. I was praying the whole time too. We had our guardian angels watching over us. It was just amazing. I feel like there's always kind of, you know, some fears when you're going to give birth because there are things that can go wrong, but most of the time, nothing goes wrong. Or if something goes wrong, it's not major. If you are an expecting mom, I'm praying for you. You're gonna meet one of the loves of your life, huh? I got 3 little loves, Brandon, Londyn, and Lynroe. I'm like, I don't want this video to be over. And it makes me sad. We have lots of adventures. I'm so happy she's here. I don't know if I'm missing anything. If you guys have any specific questions, leave them down below. I had a great time. Did you have a great time? You did great. High five. High five. Oh, knuckles? Okay, I love you. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Brandon, for making this beautiful baby with me and being such a supportive partner. You were amazing. I love you so much. Thank you, Londyn, for being so supportive. Thank you for my mom and dad coming to watch Londyn and take good care of our first little baby while we had our second little baby. We have a lot of exciting videos coming, routines, all sorts of stuff. So make sure to subscribe. If you're new, turn your bell notifications on. Those will notify you when we post a new video. And until the next video, we're sending all of our love and all of our positivity. We love you guys. Bye.